Jones steps up. Ricketts is at the high point. Jones. Orolatario has a lane. Nicholas Orolatario, the shot. Scores! Holy jumping! The Italian stallion puts the puck in the back of the net. Mamma mia, Nicholas Orolatario! To keep it in and does. Callum Jones for Potts. At the blue line, kept in by the skate of Thomas Maya. Maya. Down low on the half course, he swings out in the slot for Potts. Kyle Potts has it, hangs on, now he shoots, scores! Holy jumping! How do you do? Kyle Potts puts the puck in the back of the net. Blades blocked that shot, and coming the other way is Alton McDermott. He's in on the breakaway, scores! Holy jumping! His grandfather, Paul Henderson, must be ecstatic about that one because Alton McDermott just scored his first career Buckland Cup final playoff goal. Has been pulled. The Dukes are in the Oakville zone. Zone Selvins swung that around. The Blades are trying to tie this puck up. It goes into the corner. The Blades have a chance to get this out. Lions will tie it up. 10 seconds. Gilmore has it at the point. It's in. 6. Just wide. 7 seconds. It's back in the corner. Ewing's back in. 3, 2, 1. The Oakville Blades. Holy jumping. Blades win. Blades win. Blades win. The Oakville Blades are Buckland Cup champions.
You're watching Mamma Mia! This is Fire Talk with Nicholas Fiore. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 20 of Mamma Mia! This is Fire Talk, the Ontario Junior Hockey League special return to play, return to the rink edition. And joining me is the OJHL commissioner, Marty Savoy, for the second time on the show. Marty, that's the first time I ever had a guest on the show twice, so it must be something special.
I'm honored, Nicholas. I'm honored. Glad to hear that you're staying safe.
Yes, and you, family, everyone's okay?
Yeah, everything's doing good. Everyone's doing great. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. And obviously, we all want to get back to the rink, and we all want to get back on the ice, but in a safe manner. And you and the league announced the return to the rink, the return to play plan and program and everything that is involved in it. I guess I have several questions, but the overall thing about it right off the bat, when people say the Ontario Junior Hockey League return to the rink plan, what is it?
So this actually might answer some of your questions. It's very extensive, actually, Nicholas. It goes back to an original document that we created with our CMO, Dr. Karen Korbach, of what we put together, the protocols before we get to the rink, the testing, the double surveys before the kids get to the rink, an extensive PPE package, all of that type of stuff first and foremost. The next step was to get the kids training, and so we want to get them training first and foremost, and then getting our teams to play some games and some bubbling. And that's what we're doing right now, 5-on-5. And so what will happen now is the next stage is what we're planning for is in the month of January. The league there's probably 2 or 3 different models that we're going to look at, whether it's be what's allowable with the public health units, be able to play a scheduled game with this game team this night or the next night, or if we have to do a 7-8 game series and then to the next one. There's 3 or 4 different models for that start that we're looking to do.
And with that being said, obviously the announcement was an early January start date. We see a few other leagues, OHL being pushed back. The GOJHL Junior B are planning still December 2nd. What came to the decision on let's go with an early January start date, as proposed, of course, it's all proposed, instead of maybe earlier or later?
So what it is we're backing up, kind of testing are these bubbles that our teams are currently playing under. When we're reviewing, our teams have been outstanding. I say this all the time. Our athletic therapists are probably the best in the country and the ones that are taking care of our boys. We're getting feedback from everybody on that. And we need that time to launch and get prepared, to get our teams prepared for a type of a schedule. So we're looking probably at a mid-January one right now. But the numbers will dictate everything, from inside the province here. If there's shutdowns happen again, that could move things back. If the numbers decrease, we could move back and forth. We have to be prepared to shift that date forward or backward. But we're in a good spot right now that we do have some team actually playing some games on ice.
With the January start date, obviously, like I said, proposed, and I want to make sure everyone knows it is proposed. Nothing is concrete, of course, right? With this entire mess that is a pandemic, right? But with that being said, the 30 to 36 game season, is there going to be a middle ground? Is that going to be around that time? Touch upon how you guys came to the decision of obviously shortening the season and best of 3 playoff series instead of best of 7.
Yeah, so what we don't want to do, Nicholas, is put more games in a compact time frame. And so we think if we start around January, we'll be able to get 30 to 36 games, and depending on when we start in the month, and then be able to have a runway for some type of a playoffs. Again, the playoffs will be probably different. They might be the same. We don't know. If everything, and this is what we keep the caveat of everything, is everything stays in line of where we're going, and then it will be a best of 3 type series. But we're very agile. We have different plans in place that if timing dictates that we can do best of 7s, or we might have to do, single game eliminations. We don't know yet, but we will be able to alter that depending on the time frame that we have. But what we don't want to do is overload the games and put the pressure on the athlete, and that's when injuries happen.
The fans want to know when they can get back in the rink and if they can ever get back in the rink. But for the fans that don't know, and even for the staff members of teams or players that don't know, there will be signage and things that they can be directed to in every rink, correct? And what is that signage going to entail?
So what happens is every municipality and rinks are different depending on first of all, what the regional health unit is allowing them to do for a number of fans inside of it. They kind of dictate what the numbers are. I can tell you that our teams that are up and running that are allowed some in, they've gone to an extensive outline of where they can go to. I've just reviewed what happened in Collingwood with their game, and they actually had the health unit right with them, and they were screening everybody coming in. So there's pre-screens of the fans as well before they come in. There's extensive protocols in place to make sure not just our athletes are safe, but the fans coming in as well. So it does differ depending on the facility and the regional health unit that are in, but there are protocols in place for the fans as well. As far as numbers, that's not up to us. That's up to our municipalities and our regional health units. And they've been, during a pandemic and everything like that, all the, you hear the different stories of what's going on. They've been outstanding with us to deal with, very clear, very concise of what we can and cannot do. And they've been working very well with us.
If people have been following the OJHL, there's 4 teams that are kind of kickstarting and have gotten going, I should say, in their preseason thus far. What is the process for the preseason exhibition games or even scrimmages, let's just say, because the wording is very important at this time of the year, for these teams to get going? Obviously, I'm with the Oakville Blades, but I know there's a lot in place in order to even get back on the ice to play, let's just say, a scrimmage versus another team in a modified game format. Is it the OHA, the OHF, the OJHL, let's just say Halton region, so like the region that your team is in, to get all this approval in order to even get back on the ice for a game?
To answer your question, all of the above. Yeah, it's pretty extensive. There's different levels of approval on different types of things that we have to go through. There's an approval process for the OHF and the OHA that we have to go through. There's our own league protocols that we have to go through, because we believe our protocols are probably, like, we've been told that they're a little over the top sometimes, but when it comes to safety, I'll take that criticism. And then our regional health units, and then our municipalities and the facilities themselves that we have to go through to make sure the checks and balances are in place. The one thing that's clear is that everybody's taking the pandemic seriously, and we return to the athletes seriously enough. So we have to check all those boxes. So it's not as simple as that, you and I get together as 2 teams and say we want to play. We do work with our teams. We schedule calls with the teams once they decide on who they want to bubble through. We work through all of the type of stuff to make sure everything is in order, because it is a lot of work, but our teams are working hard. We're working hard with our different partners to make sure that we do come back in the safest possible manner.
We have in Ontario the cases going up, and I know some people can say coronavirus is a flu, and you can heal from it and it's quick, but we've seen that people have obviously unfortunately passed away from this virus. With cases continued to going up, you have around 1,200 to 1,400 throughout the past week and a half. Then you have a proposed 3,000 to 6,000 cases per day that Ontario is saying maybe in December. is there an action plan if the season gets started? What will that action plan be if the cases continue to rise and it has to be halted once again?
So we will follow what the direction of the public health units and the province obviously says. So if there's a shutdown, then depending on how long the shutdown is, and this is the frustrating thing, I think, for everybody, is that the answer is there is no answer. Are we prepared? Yeah. Our staff, in the office have done an outstanding job of putting so many different plans together. We joke all the time. We have about 65 different plans for just about everything that will come. And we've been building those with our teams. One thing that's happened through COVID is that it's forced teams and leagues to really work together to make sure that we have a solution that's safe for the kids. So if there is a shutdown or a delay or a pause, then we're prepared for it. And then we'll just, depending on how long that is, we institute that plan to be able to fit the solution.
I can only imagine, Marty, that the board and the groups that you have going on with these ongoing conversations are talking about what happens if a coach, a trainer, a player gets a case within that organization. What's the action plan? What happens? How worried are you that if that does happen, what is the plan?
So we that's what everybody is concerned of, and everything we've built is always, I keep coming back, and Dr. Karen has as well, is that we have to have protocols in place for the safety of everybody involved. And so our protocols that we have in place deal with that. So if there is someone who has come in contact, there's shutdowns. If there's somebody has any types of symptoms, we have a double screening process. So the players have to screen 2 hours before they come in, and it's very strict, the 2 hours. And then they have to get there as well. When they get there, the trainer does another screening of them as well. So it's a double screening that most leagues aren't doing right now. Before the testing was shut down, everyone had to come in with a negative COVID test. And so we track them all the time. We have contact tracing with our players. They sign declarations of what they do outside, so we know what they're doing. And what we do not want is have it to come back inside the environment. And like I say, we've entrusted our teams with this. Our athletic therapists, our coaches, our managers have done an outstanding job, but our kids do as well. Remember, we're dealing with athletes here that this is a stepping stone of where they want to get to in their careers, and they understand the importance of the safety side of it, and they don't want to get shut down. They don't want to get COVID. So we have extensive plans in place to deal with those types of situations.
The division realignment, I've been hearing obviously rumors, people talk. It's just the life we live in, right? And people are saying, well, let's get like a division, maybe that the NHL is doing, an all-Canadian division. Maybe that's all up in the air still. It's all rumors. And like the OJHL, maybe let's get regions, right? Within the region, if it obviously works, because there's a lot of teams from every region within the GTA, I would say, and more. Has that been in any discussion to say, like Halton region together, Toronto together, and maybe move some teams just for this season, just to maybe make it a little bit more sense, if that is even a possibility, of course?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I told you I have 65 plans, I think that's plans 17 or 18, and maybe 17 and 18. So that is part of it. So what we're seeing is that what's allowed in one health unit and their interpretation of the emergency orders is a bit different than the others. So bubbling inside of your own health region is sometimes a little bit easier or smoother than going outside or an adjacent one. So once we get the teams up and running, this is kind of where we're in this pilot program right now with the bubbling of our teams to see what's working and what doesn't work. And so it might be something opening up exactly that, is that, 4 teams, for instance, where you are within Halton, those 4 would form a division that we can play. But those will dictate on the numbers of participants and cohorts that's allowed within the emergency order.
And exactly. And, there's so many Toronto teams. I feel like that there's one division that could be there. So it might be an easier route, but obviously we don't know where the cases are going to be tomorrow, a week, or 2 months from now, right? I'm sure everyone's going to love to spend their Christmas and their New Year's all together, but as much as they can, obviously with the restrictions of the social gatherings, of course. But was there any discussion, even though you mentioned it a little bit, of thinking let's do December instead of a proposed January start date?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had plans to start September all the way through. When I tell you we have 65 plans, Chris Vanstone, who runs our hockey operations with Ruben Cohen in our office, and Rick Morocco and our board of directors, led by Mark Mercier, we've looked at just about every possible plan. Because what we don't want, we have a responsibility, Nicholas, for 506 athletes to help them move along in a safe manner. Remember, we're the first league and the only league in the CJHL that put face masks on our players, and we took a lot of accolades and a lot of criticism, but we did that because of safety. We will do everything with that safety for our players, and part of that is putting these different plans together to be able to adapt to the unknown. There's no roadmap. There's no playbook for COVID right now. And literally it changes hour to hour sometimes. And so it's our responsibility to the athletes to make sure that we're fluid enough to be able to change, but to change and make sure that's a safe environment.
Other than the return to the rink statement that was released, I believe November 5th, on November 6th was the 5-on-5 approval statement, the release of that as well. And one big point is the no body contact, as well as, the no scrums after whistles. And I think everyone wouldn't mind not seeing that, because you want to get the game flowing and going, right? But scrums happen. It's just the beauty of hockey if you really want to think about it like that. But the no body contact, then there's also rumors that, there could be a game misconduct for holding and so many other rules. But the no body contact thing, what would that entail? Like, all these rules. If you're standing on the center ice, you're right beside someone. If you're going deep and getting a puck battle in the corner, you might be, rubbing up against another player to try to win the battle. Are all those coming into play?
Yeah, so and this is the entire government order that they've come into for return to sport play, is no intentional contact. So if you're going in and you're in its body position, that's going to get called. If it's a direct body, so I don't want to get to the technical side, but there's 4-step progression to checking. And the 4th step is the actual separation of man from puck. If that's done, you will be ejected from the game. It's very clear in the rules what we have to do. That's part of our 5-on-5 return plan that we've agreed to with the OHF. Our 5-on-5 return plans allows face-offs and our full 20-minute periods and whatnot. But yeah, that will be called. And I can tell you, Nicholas, the feedback that we've got from our coaches and our teams has been outstanding. But the feedback from the officials and on the officials, the way they're calling this, we have some of the best officials in the country. I always say this, is that when we go to regional and national championships, it's our officials that are doing the semis and the finals all the time. And they've been doing an outstanding job of just making sure these kids want to play. If you told me 6 months ago we're going to start the OJ with non-contact, I'd say, Nicholas, you're crazy. There's no way I would ever support that. But we're at a point now where these kids have to get on the ice. It's more of a mental state that we want to make sure. And so if we have to start without the contact, well, that's what we're going to do, and we're going to allow our officials to make sure they manage it.
Obviously, there are, like I said, rumors going around with, like, if you score a goal, elbow bumps, stick taps only, or a holding penalty could be a game misconduct. That's all rumors, but I have to ask, has those been in the discussions, or are they just simply rumors?
No, they're not rumors. Nicholas, it was a great question, because I've been asked this by some teams about, so no goal celebrations, what's that mean? Exactly what it means. It's not a goal celebration. So these kids are that's what I love about these kids. They're so passionate. They jump in each other's arms, and we can't put up with that. Because what will happen is imagine that happens, and that's the instant where the kid gets COVID from. We need to limit that as much as we can. And our players you got to remember, these are elite athletes. These are players that are young men that have trained their entire lives to move forward, and they're smart. They're intelligent hockey players, and so they understand it. And you don't think we don't want to have shutdown? You think we want to get back to the ice? Put yourself in the shoes of an 18-year-old athlete right now vying for a scholarship, of what he's thinking. So if it's a stick tap instead of a hug, they'll follow the rules. And
a lot of people were talking about, though, Marty, the holding, though. The holding penalty is a game misconduct. Is that a rumor as well? Because people are going a little crazy about it. But if as a hockey guy, do I want to see that? Absolutely not. But if it has to be a rule that has to be in place, what do you tell those people that don't agree with that law of the game, if it has to be changed for at least a season or so?
I think it's simple as that. If you go to hold a guy, that's intentional contact. That's what the rule is.
Simple as that.
Intentional contact is intentional contact. So yeah, and again, and I say this, I always go back to the face mask one, where, I received an email from a player who lost all of his teeth and asked when we're going to start protecting them. Is that that these kids, I go back to the respect that I have for them all. They do whatever they need to do to play the game. They condition themselves and everything, but it's our responsibility as adults to make sure we put them in a safe environment. So holding is intentional contact. That's why you get a penalty for it in a regular game, and you're not allowed to contact. And that's why the intentional contact regulations would apply to that situation.
There you go. And Marty, how busy have you been? I feel like you've been more busy now than that when the actual season is going on. It's got to be the case, no?
Yeah, you know, I always tell people, they say you work in hockey, so it's, especially running a junior league, your summer's off. We're always busier in the summer than the winters, but this has been, and listen, it's not Marty Savoy alone. And Nicholas, I'm sure you've been busy as well. Anybody who's involved in the sport, or anybody in just regular life has probably been more busy than they would normally. So I'm not sitting here complaining. We've all been through this. The support that we've got from our teams and our board of governors and people like yourself has been unbelievable. You know, a pandemic is bringing a lot of people together, like I said earlier, and I'll continue to do it. We're so passionate to make sure we get these kids on the ice in a safe manner. If that means an extra few hours on phone calls and emails and Zoom calls, I didn't even know what Zoom was before all this. We're going to do it. We're going to do what we need to do for these players.
Absolutely. And Marty, the logo behind me here, the OJHL, not because we're both in it. I do believe it's one of the best junior leagues in the world, maybe, but especially in North America. And I know you're going to get it right. I know everybody at the league office is going to get it right. And we're going to return to play the most safest that we possibly can. You've been doing a great job. Everyone at the league has been doing a great job to try to get us going. I know personally for me, I want myself and the Oakville Blades to get going, obviously, but we have to wait. And I know it's so much waiting we've done already. March 5th, since the last time I was in a rink calling a playoff game for the Oakville Blades, it's been almost over 250 days. But patience is a virtue, I guess. Once we get going again, hopefully we can keep on going. And Marty, you've been doing great, and I appreciate you joining me once again.
Thanks so much. Anytime, Nicholas. You stay safe, okay?
Absolutely. Same to you, everyone. That is Marty Savoy, the Ontario Junior Hockey League Commissioner. And this was a great discussion about the return to the rink, return to play protocol for the OJHL. Follow us on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, of course, as well as the league in the OJHL. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Mamma mia!
Now Davis takes it and looks to come the other way. Davis is in, trying to drive, and he will look to go across. Good play to Davis, though, to get it right back to him. He goes down low to Israels. Centering, it's there. Score! Stevie! Steven Whittle scores his first OJHL playoff goal for the Oakville Blades. This game is opening up in a big way for both teams. Ricketts centering, what a pass, Israel's breakaway, the move, scores! What a goal for the Alaska Fairbanks commit, the assistant captain, Harrison Israels, with an absolute dandy. Down low to Lyons, Jack Lyons centering, scores! The double jacks combine as that puck popped up like a jack in a box, and it's Jack Ricketts from Jack Lyons. 6-1 on the 40th shot of the game. It's all Oakville.
Colette Smith hits it in. A chance here can develop, but the Blades will look to take it. And Ricketts finds Israels. Breakaway, Israels. A chance, backhand. Rebound. Scores! And the Oakville Blades win it here in Toronto. Blades win, Blades win, Blades win.
That was Mamma Mia. This is Fire Talk with Nicholas Fiore. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next episode.